Hello everyone and welcome to BHC Studios. Today we'll be taking a look at the brand new GFX100 Mark II. I did have a chance to play with this in Stockholm, but I had like 2 days and I took some photos. I'm working on a Fujifilm article right now and I'll post those pictures soon, but I'll insert 1 or 2 photos. Image quality, it's 100 megapixels. Even the previous GFX100 would have taken very similar photos, minus the new film simulation, minus slightly better IBIS, minus a faster processor. But overall, the image quality would be very similar. And the big difference, as you can see here, is I just kind of laid everything flat. Is this Mark II, as well as the original GFX100 and the very first GFX camera, the GFX50S. They were all modular cameras. As you can see, this is pretty much just a brick with no EVF with this little cap on here. And then you can add the EVF or the swivel adapter or whatever else you want. Add a grip on the bottom of this one if you wish. And that's kind of how the original GFX50S was. And that's kind of why I really like the original. And if I were to buy a used GFX, I'm actually considering the 50S, the OG. And so let's put this all together here. It uses the MPW235 battery, which was first introduced in the XT4. You pop in the battery and immediately the LCD screen starts to work. And of course you can flip through the different, let's just see here, half press. I should be able to flip through the different screen modes here. Let me just see here. Oh no, I gotta turn it on, there you go. You can flip, so this is in the negative, right? So the text is in white, and then the background is black, but you can reverse it as well, so which is very cool. And as I mentioned, it's just basically a brick, has a standard the flip out LCD. It's a 3-way, which is what most stills photographers prefer. I think this is kind of an odd camera in that Fujifilm is really pushing its video capabilities, and for that it would probably need a flip out LCD screen. It seems like that's what videographers prefer. And as well, this can actually take the fan as well. You can see the 2 little dots here, and I should probably grab the fan, but it's kind of awkward and you got to move this forward and then put the fan on. But you can't really put it away because now the LCD screen is in the way. And so if it had to flip out, well, mind you, if it flipped out and you put it on, you still have no place to put the LCD screen. But either way, this is what it looks like. So let's start to, you could take this cap off easily, and here you have a sort of a hot shoe. And if you want to just put straight up the EVF, there you go. EVF is on, looks like a normal EVF here. But the fact that this is modular is great because you have the other option of putting the swivel head on here, which I think this is still from the original GFX. And so you pop that on. This is to lock the swivel here. And then right here is to lock the up and down here like that. So you can see that. And so let's now you can put the EVF on top of the swivel. And now if you unlock both and unlock this, you could pretty much pick your angles here. See that? And I will put in a video insert when we were in, myself and Julian Falk of Fourth Dimension Pictures, when we were in Stockholm, there was a professional videographer, and he's just like, this is my new video camera. And he was super enthusiastic about the capabilities of the GFX100 Mark II.
We've got an Atlas Mercury on the front,
yeah,
anamorphic, 1.5, full frame, tilted mirage, bits and pieces. The best thing is the tiltable EVF, which I love, because it means I can really comfortably hold it and look down, you know what I mean? And I've got the screen at the back, audio tucked underneath, and a V-Lock battery to power it all at the back. So it's a whole thing is a nice self-contained unit.
Even for stills photographers, if you like to shoot down like this, but you're outdoors and it's really bright, it is nice to be able to still shoot straight down, but having the EVF like this, so you're looking straight down into it. But as well as if you are shooting vertically like this on a tripod, you want to just kind of pull this up at the right angle. Maybe you're tall or maybe you're short. Either way, you can swivel it this way here. And it is a nice accessory to have. For someone like me, I probably wouldn't use it very often, and so this would be one of the last accessory I would buy. But this is what it looks like. A little awkward-ish looking. It looked better on the 50S, the original, because it had that really weird hunchback. But look at that space between, where your eye is and the screen. So some people, when the EVF is really close, your nose tends to hit the LCD screen and then you start shifting things. But even without, so let's just pull this adapter off. pull the adapter off, and then we pull the EVF off and put this straight on here. Even with this, see that? You still have a decent distance here between the EVF and the rear LCD screen. So I think it's a handsome looking camera. And as well, you also have the battery pack that you can add on here. You can tell by this little connector here. It's connected here to put the battery pack and vertical grip. And now let's look at the connectors. Well, actually, one thing we'll look at here is you have both SD and compact, the CF Express Type B slot here. And I talked about that even on the XH2S. Being able to put like a 1 terabyte card in here is amazing. And having the option of SD and a CF Express Type B, especially with something like this, you want some serious throughput if you are doing either video or these huge stills. It's nice to have a fast card, but as well, it does have a couple of tricks up its sleeves. It has this this Ethernet connection here as well. To me, I'm more excited about this. Is a full-size HDMI, and you have, of course, microphone input. And you have USB Type-C input for either external hard drive, or you could do tethering, or you can use this to power up. So that's pretty sweet. The door, it is like that floppy door, which is probably easier to replace and less likely to break. But I would rather have a solid door. Yeah, see, even this is kind of a floppy door. Plastic's a little bit different. This is kind of a harder plastic. This is more rubbery on here. Does use the slotted straps, the strap lugs here, so I would probably use the Peak Design anchor system. I don't like slotted style camera straps, and I don't use OEM straps either. Even something as nice, Fujifilm straps are actually pretty nice, and Leica has nice straps, but even then I always go with the style that I prefer, and so I would just put Peak Design on here. And some people talked about this angled screen here. I think aesthetically it looks weird, but when you're shooting, it's pretty good. Like, it's nice that you don't have to go fully 90 degrees up to look at it, but you look at a slight angle like this. And so functionally, it's great. In terms of looks, I think Fujifilm's, none of the GFX cameras have really looked that sexy to me compared to something like an X100V or the X100 series, or something like the Fujifilm X Pro series. Those always look good. Even the XT series look like a vintage film SLR camera. GFX is more purpose-built. It's more sort of like an SL. It's kind of a brutalist design. It looks super functional. And so having this angle, sure, it's not sexy, but it's functional. And as well, I still would prefer, so there's a drive dial right here, a drive button here. I would prefer that it was a dial underneath this PASM dial, so you could just immediately access drive instead of having to press that drive button. But again, I think the reason for this is that you can control all of this remotely, and so being able to switch from stills to video to whatever drive mode that you have, instead of having to use a physical dial. Although the drive could have had an auto mode, right? So if they had all the drive features inside the camera, and then when you wanted to change it, remotely, you could just go into drive auto, and then you could have done it that way. So I still would have preferred that. And of course, you guys know I love having an ISO dial, but they have these 3 buttons along the front here that you can customize. You can see what I did. The first one is going to be film sim, the second one is going to be ISO, and this third one here is push in and keep pressed for exposure compensation using this rear dial here. And so that works out pretty good. These 3 here. You do have to press the display back button and do a long press. So here we go, do a long press, and then it goes into your custom function. I still prefer the way Leica does it, which is you just long press the custom button. When you long press that, and then it kicks you into that specific custom function button, you can immediately change it. And so I prefer that, but at least with this way, with the way Fujifilm does it, you're not just changing the one button, you can change multiple series of custom buttons. And so, I know one would go one way or the other. It's also nice to have this the focus mode selector at your thumb here. I didn't mind it in the front here because you just kind of knew where everything was. Like, it was manual, continuous, and then single. But having it here, especially if you're jumping around, you're doing video, you want to quickly manually focus something, and then you want to go into auto, so you flip it to the continuous. Now you're in stills mode, and you want to lock in your focus, you just go to S. It is nice to have it at your thumb, but overall, I like the ergonomics of this. Let's put this new lens on as well. This is the 55mm f1.7, and you know, I love the 40mm and the 45mm. Going way back to the film days, going right back to the 70s, I think cameras like the Canonettes and the Hymatics from Canon and from Minolta, they had fixed 40 or 45mm lenses. As well, the Minolta XD series came with they had the famous 45 f2, my M Rorecore 40mm for like an M mount. I love that lens. So having something in the 45mm range to me is great. It's a little bit wider than a 50, but more compressed than a 35. So to me, this is not going to be a street setup, but that's how I'm going to test this. I'm going to take this out on the streets of Vancouver and do street photography, but that's not really what this is for. I think a lot of people who are buying this are going to be doing events, they're going to be doing weddings, they're going to be doing portraiture, and that's probably how they're going to use this 55mm lens. But for me, I'm going to use this as a street photographer lens and show that, hey, you could pull street photography off with a camera like this. The autofocus obviously is not going to be as fast as something like an XH2S or even an XT5 or even like an X Pro 3. I think those cameras are still going to be faster. Rolling shutter has been improved on this, but again, still not as fast as an APS-C X series camera. But, you know, at the same time, I also shoot Leica M, which is manual focus, and I still get my shots, right? Not as frequently, if you can say, as something like with a Sony with, you know, eye tracking and everything like that, but you just learn to shoot within the limits of your camera. So if you want to shoot this, use this for weddings, sports, you just figure out a workaround, because some of the greatest photos in history, they didn't have autofocus. And so it's not that you can't pull it off, it's just a little bit more work using the GFX100 Mark II compared to a Sony or Canon or even Fujifilm's own X series. But you're also getting, I mean, take a look at this, you're getting medium format sensor size, right? I mean, you're getting a huge, look at that size of that sensor. And so that's the advantage of something like this. Even back in the film days, if you got medium format, you weren't getting autofocus speeds that were equal to 35mm. And so you kind of put up with the slower speeds. Let me just grab that fan so you can just see what it looks like. I will be right back. Alright, so I'm back. I have the cooling fan here. And this was originally designed for the XH2S as well as the XH2 and the XS20, but it could also fit here. You got to remove that little plastic sort of a cover here, so that now the connector is exposed. This cap here, it's off, so now you just slip it in between and you just thread it on. Should work here. And here you go. Look at that. So there's the fan. Does it look cool on there? Not really. This plate here on the bottom keeps it, you can see here, you can't really close it up either, so it kind of hangs down like this. So if you have this on a tripod or something, you do have to, and your base plate is kind of huge, or the tripod head is huge, you do have to kind of flip this out like this. But if you need to keep your camera system cool, and perhaps this is on a tripod as a B cam and up high in some rigging, and you don't really have the opportunity to jump up and turn it on and off and try to keep it cool, it's nice that you can just put this on. So obviously it's an option. It's not something that you want to keep on all the time, but if you need it, you have the option to add it on. And so this is just my sort of like my ergonomic look, because, you know, I know a lot of people would want to take a look, you know, closely at the camera here. So this is kind of a close look at the camera again. This is the inside here. The door does come off here, so if you do again have this inside kind of a rigging and you just need quick access to your memory cards, you can do that. Alright, and you got your buttons here. I'm not a fan of this joystick. it's like I think it's more sensitive, like it's like an 8-way, but sometimes if you're pressing it down, you're actually going down and sideways, and the menus doesn't, let me just see if I can sort of show you here. Right here. So you're going up and down, but sometimes if you go slightly sideways, see that? It feels like it's stuck, but it's not. It's just you're going sideways and up instead of actually just straight up. And so I think Fujifilm can fix that in firmware by basically making within the menu setting, it basically only goes up, down, or sideways. It doesn't allow the 8-way because again, the angle, see that? The angle doesn't work. So this should just deactivate it when you are in this mode, and then when you are in the screen mode and trying to pick your focus points, then do you see that? Now the angle works, which it should. And so that's one of my little niggles. And again, drive button versus having an actual drive mode dial, I would prefer. Not a fan of PASM, but I understand why they went that way with the GFX system. But I still feel in terms of the button dial layout, I love the GFX50S, the original, which matched almost the same as the XH1 in terms of it was a hybrid of a larger screen with still some dials, and so I still prefer that. But overall, I think this is a great update for the GFX100. I actually thought it would go to 150. I'm kind of happy that they left it at 100 and focus more on the throughput. Although I do wish if they could have, which, you know, it's up to them and Sony to work it out, but to actually have a stacked medium format sensor. So a 100 megapixel stacked, so like an XH2S, and then actually increase the throughput even higher to have it closer to a full frame, sort of everything from rolling shutter to throughput to video capabilities. But you know, that's something that, you know, I mean, obviously Fujifilm has increased the total sales in medium format since they've entered the market with the original GFX50S back in, I guess, 2017. Before that, I mean, just people didn't even realize there was digital medium format. It was still a rare type of camera, but now Fujifilm has kind of made this mainstream, and this is their first step in moving up even another notch as the 5th generation processor that's in here. And it'd be interesting what Fujifilm does with the X100S Mark II. So S should be faster, right? I think S is for speed or whatever it is, but I think an S version, 100 megapixels, but faster. And then, of course, because this is a modular one, it would have a fixed EVF. EVF on this is amazing. It's just, it just looks glassy in there. But I will have a full review. Let me know if you have any questions down below. I'm gonna just start my review soon. So see me on the streets of Vancouver. Until then, we'll talk to you soon, and happy shooting.